Some research around the costs with hyperscalers, analyze the cost could be involved with on-premise cloud. So the idea here is navigating into a specific use case, a sample use case, to check how the cost you have in the hyperscalers and on the on-premises, considering the cost related with on-premises. So it's a research in someone here from service provider? No, right? No one here. Someone from service provider? No? Yeah, you are? Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So I think the main use case related to CloudStack is service providers. It's normally used. My idea here is to develop something related with on-premises, and it's another use case for business, for example, for enterprise, for example, using CloudStack to help to reduce costs related this specific use case. So I am technical market manager at ShapeBlue, so my main work at ShapeBlue is to remove the gap between the technology and the business to help the audience to understand the CloudStack, the features CloudStack have, and so I'm also a partial CloudStack committer from 2015. I worked for a long time with infrastructure. I started a long time ago, 27 years ago, while working with cloud infrastructure. I started using Linux in the beginning, so I remember my first version of Linux I deployed was a Slackware. I don't know if the guys here knows, so. Love to play guitar. Yeah, I really love to play guitar. I use it, so it's when I needed to decompress from the IT things, I go to play some riffs and that's it. I speak English, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. I'm from Brazil. The agenda today is to talk a little bit about how to repatriate your workload from the hyperscalers to the on-premises. Is not the technical way, but the costs involved when you use, for example, the hyperscalers and the on-premises. What the costs are involved in on-premises. So, to do this presentation, I have some assumptions and considerations. I will speak a little bit after about this. I will get some functionality you have in CloudStack and you have in Hyperscaler as well. So how the CloudStack is provided the core infrastructure. In that case, different of a Hyperscaler, you have different services that you can use. And I will exemplify this comparison with a sample use case. Okay, I will do some overview based on this architecture of this sample use case. And after you navigate between the pricing of hyperscalers on-premises and the conclusion I had based on this research. So it's important to say that hyperscalers, they have a really interesting, it is a very interesting way to, for example, scale your system when you need. It's a near instant scalability. You adjust your resources without have a full changes in your infrastructure. So they offer a full range of services for example, for database, machine learning, and many others that it's a differential of they have. They also have global distributed data centers with low latency, so you can scale your infrastructure in global terms, and it's ideal, in my opinion, for startups and companies that have unpredictable when you don't have, you need to scale, by the way, and sometimes you don't have resource. And they offer as well an extensive support ecosystem with partners around the world, and so you can have it in the, they are very good in that term. So why I'm talking, if hyperscalers are so good, why I'm talking to repatriate the workloads? The first thing is on-premises, you have a cost-efficient comparing with hyperscaler when you have predictable workloads for your infrastructure. The second, you have the cost predictability, as you can know exactly how will be your cost in long term, right? For example, in terms of vendor locking, if you start your business in the hyperscalers and use some specific feature like database, for example, it's complicated to move out from hyperscaler because you use a specific feature. It's complicated as well to move between different hyperscalers. It's not only from the hyperscalers to on-premises. And in terms of compliance, using on-premises, you can control, you can adapt your compliance to use, and many times it is not addressed by the hyperscalers. In terms of security, you can define your own policies related to security, and the factor of as you can select your own hardware, for example, you can have best performance as well compared with hyperscalers. So it's important to say here in this research, I have some consideration assumption. The data center facilities, hardwares, employee costs are included in this research. First, it is based on Frankfurt. So the hardware, I get this price from some distributor in Europe, and the data center I consider to Frankfurt, and employee as well in Germany. So it's based on this, in these assumptions. The price is related with hyperscalers. They have a calculator that you can access this price, and so I use this price to consider it. I don't have a specific negotiation direct with vendors or hyperscalers to get the best discount on the prices. So not include the outgoing data transfer because, you know, the people that use in hyperscalers understand that the data control, the outgoing data transfer is the cost considered much higher than compute in some specific use case. For all of the hyperscalers and also to the on-premises, I am using the same instance type for all of them to have a fair comparison in that case. So as I told before, CloudStack offer the core infrastructure as a service to provide the that I think, in my opinion, 90% of the company needs is what CloudStack can cover. So maybe 10% like machine learning or other things. With CloudStack, you can integrate it in the same way, for example, for object store, for storage and backup management. So CloudStack can integrate it, but you need to do some work to have it working like the hyperscalers. But in general terms, CloudStack offers 90% of the services the companies needs. So my sample use case will be very simple with 3 layers. It's a mid-size e-commerce use case with the front end, with the application layer and database. Here maybe you can have, for example, in the front end, the homepage, product search engine, and other services you have used, shopping cart, checkout, and etc. So in terms of architecture, the idea is to use this amount of resource for each layer, using the same computing instance type with 4 vCPU, 16 gigabytes of memory. The total instance in that case for all layers is 3,000 instances to calculate these costs using both. So for computing pricing related to the hyperscalers, I'm using saving plans as a pricing model from all of them. Preference by region, all running in Frankfurt. Using Linux system, operating system, because I don't want to let this research complex using including costs related with the license of the operating system. And now, for instance, we will have 100 gigabytes of disk space. So this price per hour is as the hyperscaler bill per hour terms, by the way. No? And this source you can access the calculator from AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud. So, consider in that case a long term of 3 years, payment option, monthly payment in that case, with the discount they offer directly in the calculator. You have here, for example, the costs per month, the investment you need in a long term for between 8 millions and 10 millions, depending on the hyperscalers you decide to use. Talking about the on-premise, so you need to consider some investments and some OPEX costs to calculate the costs related with the on-premises. So first you need to have the hardware, investment, the storage, compute hosts, networking, and you need to have a data center to run this infrastructure. In that case, I'm considering here a co-location in the same city in the Frankfurt as I'm considering for the hyperscalers, and you need to consider the operation and deployment for the infrastructure. So you have these costs involved here. But considering it is just some assumptions I had. So the first thing I need to know is how many hosts you need for my infrastructure. In that case, the constraint factor is the memory. So considering the same compute instance, the variable I have here, the CPU over provision factor for 3, I will not consider over provision factor for the memory. So I will need in that case with servers with 1 terabyte of memory, considering as well the spare host per cluster. So because I need to do some maintenance if I have some problem in the cluster. The number in that case will be 50 hosts to support the workload. The storage capacity is simple, so you need 300 terabytes to support the amount of disk space for each instance in this workload. Networking, consider the number of hosts I have in the compute capacity and the number of NICs I have for storage. In that case, I'm not using nothing special storage, it's just a storage, an appliance using this, in that case here, to simplify the calculation. So consider a spine leaf architecture, simplify the architecture, the network architecture, considering this number of ports with breakout interface. I need 6 switches using the same for spine and for leaf as well. I'm not specialized in the data center hack layout, but I think this is enough to support the workload. Considering here, sorry, it's not 16 kilowatts, it's 32 kilowatts I need because I'm using Intel architecture processor. So this amount of 2 full hacks with 47 units is enough to support the hardware I need to support the workload. In that case, for the capex involved here is about $900,000 US, okay? This price I get from 4 different European distributors to get an average price to have this price here. So, and you have as well the on-premise OPEX. So one-off costs is about 226,000 US dollars, and you need to consider recurring costs is about per month 122,000 and 4,400,000 US dollars the total for 36 months. So it's important to say that the software stack operation and the software stack deployment I am considering as a salary for the team. I'm considering 12 team members in that case, with a salary from the Glassdoor, based for Germany, is around 6,000 US dollar per month. And the other cost for both is I'm considering office space, employees benefit bonus, software tools, and others. Going to the comparison, well, I get the price for the AWS, for the Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud Platform on-premises. So this is the total cost ownership for a period of 3 years. Comparing on-premises cloud stack with AWS. On-premise offer a reduction of cost, the total cost, about 32%. It means you will save around 2.6 million US dollars. Comparing with Microsoft Azure, you have a reduction of 38%, and you will save about 3.5 million, and with Google, 45 and 4.6 million US dollar. I think this graph here represents exactly the break-even point you have. You will start to save money compared with hyperscalers. Here in that part here, let me check my mouse is not, in that part here, you can see you have the upfront investment related to the on-premise cloud stack. So in the beginning, you needed to invest this amount of money. You have this cost to start the implementation of the on-premise infrastructure. So, but comparing in the time, so in the second quarter, if I am considering Google Cloud, I start to save money. So in the 30, about 30, 2 and 30 there, for Azure in between 3 and 4, I start to save money related to AWS. So another variable I want to consider here is the hardware replacement cycle. So compute host is about 3 and 5 years, storage 5 and 7 years, and network 5 and 10. So, but let's consider a common number here for all of these resources, about 5 years of that this infrastructure can operate. So it means that I don't need to do upfront investment again to continue operating. In that case, from 32% considering 3 years, I can save 37% in that case. It means a reduction of 3.4 million US dollars. Comparing with Azure, you have from 38% to 43%. It means a 6.5 million. And compared with Google Cloud Platform, so this is the number, 45% of savings in 3 years to 50% in 5 years. It's massive saving in that case. So I want to share with you guys this cloud cost calculator. You can include all of this calculation I did here. So do your quotation for hardware, storage, networking, and everything you need. For example, input this data in the spreadsheet, and you have the cost, the public cost of all hyperscalers in this calculator, and you can have it and do your own comparison. And the key takeaways I have here after my research, I see CloudStack offer much bigger cost efficient compared with hyperscalers. I think the number you see here, for example, in that part here of my break-even point, you can save money considerably considering this end of 36 months. So you have a very big difference, and it can impact directly your business. But it's important to say it's only for predictable workload. But if you have floating, I think it could be different. You can have different price. It's important as well to say that the costs are included to compare for the on-premise infrastructure. I don't negotiate with distributors. I don't have a negotiation with distributors, and maybe you can have best price as well. I'm not considering any kind of support in that case for the recurring cost as well. But considering recurring cost with someone to support your infrastructure, for example, you can reduce the number of staffs who work in the team for 6 for the half of this number I present here. And so the another one is related with independence you can have using open source technology. So it's, be free to select the technology you want to use to run in your infrastructure, something like the database as a service. I don't need to use a specific one. I can select my own and use it in my application. So it's a differential, right, compared with the hyperscaler that they can make some vendor locking, and you have in a prison with just one vendor. So in the data control, so you can control your compliance, GDPR, for example, and apply for a local regulation. And so that it can be fully covered by hyperscalers. And in terms of policy, security policy, you can use your appliance for the firewall, intrusion detection, etc. That's it. Question and answer, please. Yeah.
I would suggest to add one more line, which is the situation many companies come from now, which is I have my local infrastructure and I have the company which we don't...
you have your data center.
We have large license costs, and many are considering I'm not doing it myself again, I'm moving to the hyperscalers. So what are they paying more, and what could they save if they just got rid of proprietary software?
Okay. You mean that move your infrastructure to hyperscalers? Yeah. Different way? I think you will have a higher cost in that case.
Currently considering moving to hyperscalers because they don't want that fuss with proprietary software in the data centers again. Yeah.
But could be depending of the technology you use. It's not fit for. It's not come for all use case. You have some conversation related to this, right? For example, depending on your use case, it could be advantage to run it on-premise, yeah. Right?
Just stay on-premise. Kick out the vendor.
But another thing as well is, for example, but sometimes I have unpredictability related to my workloads, for example. I have my predictable workload, but sometimes, for example, in that case, e-commerce, Black Friday, yeah. I need more infrastructure because I have a high demand of accessing my infrastructure. You can scale out it to the hyperscalers or cloud service provider or something else, you know. that's my view, I think.
And one thing you left out with the cost of the hyperscalers is you have a lot of staff for the local infrastructure, but you cannot run such a infrastructure on a hyperscaler without local staff which are highly trained to use that infrastructure.
You need to train it to use the hyperscaler as well. It's the same. I'm not considering as well, for example, another one is the outgoing data transfer.
Yeah.
If you put it on the math here, calculate together, you will see that the hyperscalers is higher, much higher than the on-premises in that case, right? So the advantage you're using, for example, on-premise with CloudStack, it's the cost is impacted directly your business, I mean. Anyone? Yeah? Well, thank you so much.